Welcome to module number 2, I guess, if you will. I don't know if I'm necessarily going to be saying that going forward, because I'm just going to be doing a bunch of different video series topics, right? So with that being said, today we're going over how to start your first cycle / getting into TRT, right? And this is a step-by-step guide on what I personally would do if I were natural today and I wanted to start my first cycle / get introduced into the TRT and testosterone / enhanced lifestyle, okay? So just for preference, again, like I said, this is not medical advice, okay? This is just stuff that I believe to be true. This is what I practice myself. This is what other clients of mine have used as their kind of backbone and as their kind of structure for, doing various cycles and whatnot. But you should always talk to your doctor first. You should always get the opinion of a licensed medical practitioner. Okay, so let's get into it. This is just a little bit of an agenda of what we're going over, right? So, like I said, this is step by step. You're a natty today, taking you all the way through to, pretty much full blast, if you will, and what you need to do each step of the way to get there. This is a longevity and health and conservative approach, okay? I am not a coach, or I'm not a person in general who takes higher compounds, who takes higher dosages of compounds. I am very conservative with my approach, and I'm always health focused, okay? So this is a protocol and a mindset to keep you being able to do this for as long and as healthy as possible. And I believe that if you follow these steps, you can also be healthy and be safe while diving into this world, which inherently has its risks, okay? So what is step number 1? All right. If you're natural today, start by getting your blood work. Okay, that is the first thing that you should do before you start getting into anything, before you start hopping on cycle, is get blood work done today while you're still natural. And this is going to be your baseline. This is going to be what you always refer back to. Okay, this is essentially, your body's natural levels in terms of where your liver enzymes sit, where your kidney markers sit, where your cholesterol naturally sits, your HDL, your LDL. Take your blood pressure regularly. Get a good reading on where your blood pressure normally is. Get a good reading on where your blood sugar normally is, right? Get your testosterone score checked, your free testosterone score checked. It's basically everything as inclusive of a panel as you can to have as much data to refer back to, okay? And that's kind of like the key thing here. So a lot of you may not know that getting blood work done is really easy. It's not complicated. You do not need to go through your PCP and wait annually to get blood work done, okay? You can go to any LabCorp or any Quest and just buy a panel and get it done. I am affiliated with a TRT and blood work company, okay? That will be linked down in below. I will also just have a pinned post in my school too of all my affiliate links anyway, because it is good stuff. I believe that I work with good companies that offer good products, and I want to be able to share that with you guys. Okay, so if you use that code, you will get a big discount on some of the best, most comprehensive panels that you can get. The more in-depth the panel, the more data we have, the better it is. And then the benefit of going through this company is that you will have a doctor review it, get on a phone call with you, tell you what's good, tell you what's bad, tell you what you need to do to improve stuff, and you just have kind of another set of eyes, a medical set of eyes on you at all times. And what's really cool about the website that I specifically work with, it's called anabolicinsights.ai. You can compare other tests and individual markers. So if you get a test done last July and you get a test done today and you have a test done from 2 years ago and you want to look at your liver markers and compare all three and see which way it's trending, you can pull those charts up. It's really easy to track data and to kind of just compare different metrics and whatnot over time. Really, really good tool to have. Anabolic Insights. You really should go check it out. And then the code is Johnny. At checkout, you save some money on your panels. So, getting on TRT, starting testosterone, starting your first cycle, if you will, it's a long-term decision. Okay, so one cycle, bro, doesn't exist, right? Nobody has ever done one cycle, been satisfied, and then stopped, right? You are going to be in this for an extended period of time. You should be in it for an extended period of time, and because of that, you need to be doing it as healthy as possible, okay? But just understand the risks and the side effects that come with making this decision. Like, for one, your life will change forever, okay? Whether that's for good or for bad or not so good, not so bad, whatever, kind of in the middle, your life will change, okay? There are little things that you don't think about when you first start a cycle that, like, actually kind of, like, make a difference in your life, right? Buying needles every week is something that you are going to have to, start to do. Like, you're going to always need to have needles. You're going to always need to have over-the-counter supplements to keep you healthy. You're always going to need to be re-upping on your PEDs. Where do you store that stuff, right? Like, if you live with your parents and you're trying to kind of keep it under wraps, right? Like, where are you throwing out your needles? Like, where are you storing your tests? Like, where are you storing your needles? Like, these are things, like, small little things that people don't always think about, right? But it will change your lifestyle. And then, of course, you have, like, the psychological effects as well. It will change the way you think, for good or for bad. A lot of times with guys, you become more confident, which is kind of cool. You feel better about yourself. So not necessarily a bad thing, but you will change, right? So if you're with a partner, you're with a girlfriend, significant other, right? Like, these relationships can change for good or for bad, but they can change, right? So just be aware of all of that going into it, okay? So who are PEDs and TRT not for, okay? They are not for very young individuals, right? I'm going to give a number. This is a very standard number, but I'm going to say if you're under 25 years old, if you want to play it safe, you should not be taking any kind of hormones before the age of 25. Your prefrontal cortex is just not fully developed yet, and you'll be making changes to your brain permanently before that is developed, before it's developed, finishing, right? Listen, 25 is kind of a standard number, but I would say truly no younger than 20 years old. Really, like, if you're 18, 19, 20, there's no need for you to hop on TRT. You have so many gains left to make. Stay natural, maximize your training, maximize your recovery, maximize your nutrition, maximize your stress management, maximize your supplementation, natural supplementation, right? Kind of fill all those areas out first, and then you can kind of dive into that a little bit more, okay? Which kind of leads me into, like, prerequisites to consider before hopping on TRT. Good solid foundation and training, good nutrition, effective sleep, stress management. These are all things that you should have down pat before getting on any kind of steroids, all right? Potential candidates, obviously, if you are a competitive athlete, it may be a route that you want to go down, potentially, depending on where you're at in your career. So strength athlete, bodybuilder, maybe you're just like somebody who is your performance-driven individual. You're a entrepreneur, you're a CEO, you are somebody who's just highly, highly productive throughout the day, and you just want to keep things ticking over. Having a consistent hormone panel is probably the best thing for your productivity when it comes to business, when it comes to content creation, when it comes to managing relationships, really anything in life, right? And then as you do get older as a guy, your natural testosterone will start to decline anyway. So once you kind of get into your 30s, it might be something that you want to consider for the long term regardless. Some of the modern struggles that we do face today. So that number being 30 years old and having the testosterone decline is kind of maybe a little bit young. Maybe it's a little bit too early for a lot of people, but kind of the way that I see things is that the modern world that we live in today is so full of hormone and endocrine disrupting factors and different sorts of things, really, that we on average have lower testosterone levels now than ever in human history, right? The average testosterone of a 25-year-old male today is equivalent to a 70-year-old guy from the 50s, right? So just different environmental factors, drinking out of plastic, exposure to phone, exposure to LG 4G, LGT, microwaves, blue light, the food that we eat, the chemicals in the food, all of these things that we are just constantly consumed by and cannot get away from is making our testosterone numbers drop, right? So it's kind of not the worst idea to kind of just preemptively, as you get older, say, this is what I'm going to do to keep my hormones in check, and kind of just always be able to overcome those challenges, to be quite frank. So getting into the weeds a little bit, all right, you have to know your different testosterone esters, okay? So we have testosterone enanthate, cypionate, propionate, and sustanon, okay? So testosterone can be broken down into different types of esters, meaning they all have a different half-life, essentially, right? So enanthate has a 3 to 5 day half-life. Cypionate has about a 2 to 3 day half-life. Propionate has a 1 to 2 day half-life. And then sustanon is made up of different blends of those esters. And you kind of have a more up and down, but smaller sustained release of testosterone throughout the day, throughout the week, depending on how frequently you inject. And then that kind of leads us into, like, you should know the different esters, and you need to kind of mess around and play around with which one works best for you, okay? Everybody's going to respond differently to the different esters, and it can affect many different things. It can affect your blood work. It can affect how much you aromatize to estrogen. It can affect your injection frequency throughout the week. Maybe you only have a certain number of days that you are willing to pin throughout the week, so going with a longer ester, like an enanthate, might be more beneficial to you. Maybe you don't mind the more frequent injections and you like to stay kind of maxed out all the time. Propionate would be really good for you then, right? A shorter ester. So it kind of depends on lifestyle factors. It kind of depends on also what you respond to best as an individual. But know your different esters. Okay, those are the main 4. There are other ones out there. You don't really commonly see them, to be honest with you. But just get to know those 4, and you want to kind of experiment a little bit in the beginning and just see which one you feel best at, which one your blood work is most compatible with, and then kind of stick with that, and yeah, kind of just live there, if you will, right? Grape Ghost. I'd say top 3 flavor. So this will not be a dosing. I'm not really going to give you dosages here, okay? I'm not going to say do this, do that, right? These are all more so just general concepts that I want you to follow, and the idea here is that you do find your own dose, but generally speaking, for a lot of the times, more is not always better, all right? The reason for this is because your body is always trying to maintain homeostasis, okay? As your testosterone levels increase, so as you're injecting testosterone and your testosterone number is going up and your body is now holding on to more testosterone than it was before, the counterpart to that is estrogen, estradiol, will also increase as well. As the estrogen goes up, you can start to see high estrogen side effects, such as gynecomastia, water retention, mood swings, acne, right? The key is to manage estrogen, and estrogen is an important hormone for guys. You don't want to totally nuke it, but you want it to be in that sweet spot where you don't have any estrogenic side effects, you still feel good. So estrogen can control things like your sex drive and your mood as well, right? So that's why you don't want to totally tank it, but you do want it not too high, not too low, right? Right in the middle. Honestly, a really good area is just where it should be at, like on paper. If you go to a lab, they'll tell you if you're in the US, like around 50, it's kind of a good spot to be in. But again, it's also very person to person dependent. Some people can handle high amounts of estrogen and not show any signs of that, right? They don't develop gyno, they don't develop any acne, their water retention's not too bad, right? And other guys just have a slight increase in estrogen and they start to break out in gyno right away, right? So it really is person to person dependent, and you have to find that sweet spot of what works for you. We're going to get into different ways of how to manage your estrogen while you're on cycle. But that is just kind of generally where you want it to be, is a nice sweet spot where you're not kind of bogged down with these excess estrogen effects, okay? So that's why more is not always better when it comes to testosterone. So this is how to manage your estrogen in terms of hierarchy. So number one would be injection frequency. It's the most underrated way to control estrogen side effects, in my opinion. The reason for this is because if you take a big dose of testosterone, or not even a big dose, let's just say you're taking a standard TRT dose of 200 milligrams, and you inject that one time per week. You're taking 200 milligrams at once, you're injecting it into your body goes, damn, here comes all this testosterone, shoots all the way up. What's estrogen going to do? Shoot all the way up with it. As opposed to doing more frequent injections, so say you break up that 200 milligrams divided by 4, so that's 50 milligrams 4 times per week. You're taking a little bit at a time, then estrogen matches. You're taking another little bit at a time, estrogen matches. Another little bit at a time, estrogen matches. And you can more effectively manage estrogen by doing more frequent injections. So if you are struggling with that, I would say first, increase your frequency. For pinning, it's probably the most effective way to do that. Another really good way are DHT derivatives, okay? DHT is just another form of testosterone, if you will, but that would fall under the Anavar, Primo, Masteron, T-ball kind of category. Those are DHT-based compounds. DHT typically binds to your hair follicles, so you do need to be aware of some kind of, hair loss, if you will. If you're prone to it, it can accelerate it. If it's not something you need to worry about, it's probably not something you're going to need to worry about if you're on DHT compounds, but they do act as a natural estrogen blocker, if you will, right? So just by taking a DHT, your estrogen will lower a little bit from that, okay? So DHT is a good thing to pair with testosterone. Once you follow these steps first, then you can add in a DHT. We're going to get to that a little bit later in the presentation, but that is probably the second most effective way to manage estrogen. It's just to add in a DHT, will naturally lower it. And DHTs are great because they're really, really safe. They don't affect blood work really too much. And you can kind of get away with taking more PEDs, which means more gains, for not too much of a risk, to be honest with you. If that doesn't work, you got to lower the dose. You got to lower the dose of test. It's just as simple as that. You're converting to, you're aromatizing too much. Testosterone numbers too high. You got to bring it down. I mean, a lot of people don't consider that, but if you do need to manage your estrogen better, you can always just lower the dose, okay? And then the last step, in my opinion, would be to go to an AI, an aromatase inhibitor. So the conversion of testosterone to estrogen is called aromatization. So an aromatase inhibitor is exactly that. It inhibits aromatization. So it's an oral pill that you take, and it just naturally lowers your estrogen, okay? If you go too much, you can really tank it, which I said is not a good thing. You don't want to totally tank it. You want to manage it. You want to control it. But AIs are very effective. They work very well, but they're not side effect free, which is why I say to do them last. They can affect things such as cholesterol and whatnot. That's why I don't necessarily recommend that first. Kind of recommend that last. Plus, if you can get away with taking less stuff at the end of the day, it's kind of a win-win. But if you do need to take it for a short period of time, get that estrogen in a good spot, and take it at a lower dose. So this is what you must understand up front about testosterone. So again, kind of going back to some of the risks, not really risks, but just some, individual lifestyle factors that come from taking testosterone. Okay, so one, fertility. Your fertility, your sperm count will be lowered while you're on TRT. It rarely drops to zero, so it's still very possible to have children, and it happens all the time. Guys have kids on cycle, on testosterone all the time. It's very individualized, it's very person to person dependent. So, if you're struggling with it, you may need to do a deep dive into that world, into the fertility world, and, research different compounds and different drugs that you can take to help get your fertility back. It's a very understood field nowadays, and it's pretty much guaranteed, to be honest with you. But you just might need extra work, right? So if you're trying to have a kid and you can't, and you're on cycle, you got to do stuff about it, basically, okay? That can be a whole separate module on its own. It's a very kind of more in-depth discussion when it comes to that, but just know that it's out there, okay? And that will be a module coming sometime in the future. Your own natural testosterone levels will shut down pretty much completely, okay? So because of that, your balls are going to shrink. In the famous words of Rich Piana, if my balls have shrunk, that means my dick looks bigger, okay? So always keep that in mind, but it is a real thing that, your nuts will shrink. You're taking an exogenous compound and injecting it into your body. Your brain goes, we are getting this from somewhere else now. We don't have to make it ourselves. And it shuts off that signal in your brain. So you're not producing any natural testosterone. Okay? So then what is the recovery like? Like, can you ever come off? Yes, you can come off. Will your testosterone levels ever come back? Naturally. It's so person to person dependent, right? Some people can recover 100%. Some people can recover a little bit. Some people have a lot of trouble recovering back to, where they once were. It's very person to person dependent. And again, that will require a whole nother kind of module on how to do that, and what kind of drugs and what kind of protocols you can dive into if you ever do want to come off. But that's why I say that this should be more of a long-term approach, and that's why I think the mindset is really important, because that might not necessarily be something you need to worry about if you can do this healthy, if you can get what you want to get out of life while still being on testosterone. And ultimately, as long as you're healthy, you will live a better life while on testosterone, okay? That's not guaranteed, obviously, but hormonally speaking, right, testosterone is pretty important. And like we said, just with the way the world is and the way that our bodies are designed, it's something that's going to naturally decline over time anyway. So that's why I do believe that a long-term approach is most effective for, this kind of field. And, for me personally, I always say, like, as long as I can have kids too, like, there's no reason really for me to ever come off testosterone, unless something crazy drastic happens. But as long as I can pop out a couple kids, I'll be fine with staying on it for a while. It's a very, very low kind of commitment thing where I just take a small amount. I inject it sub-Q 3 times a week. It takes me all of a minute to do, and then I never have to think or worry about it again, and I get my blood work done, and I'm healthy. So it's kind of the way that I choose to live my life. But it is, going back to my original point, is it possible? Yes, it is possible. You just might need more attention in that area to get your natural levels back. Most important steps for longevity. Dose matters the most. Let's see here. The dose you choose profoundly affects both benefits and risks. Finding the minimum effective dose supports longevity and reduces side effects, right? So that's kind of the name of the game here, is we want to find the minimum effective dose. And I think that that's such a powerful thing in this realm is don't ever do more than you need to be honest with you. If your blood work checks out and you're healthy and you can make gains and you feel great and you're recovering good and you have no side effects, that's the best spot to be in, man. You will feel like Superman. You will feel like you can conquer the world. And you're not doing damage. That's the most important thing, okay? Everybody's body reacts differently to TRT and PEDs. Personalized dosing is crucial. What works for you may be too much or too little for another. So that is also very true. There is no such thing as a one dose fits all type of approach when it comes to this. Everybody will respond differently to different doses. There are people who can take a gram, which would be 1,000 milligrams per week, and have pristine, stellar blood work, no aromatization, no high blood pressure, no water retention. They feel great. Their blood work looks great. They still have their fertility. And then there's people who can take 100 and have terrible side effects from 100, right? So it just really all depends on your body. So it's why it's really important to constantly being able to test and assess, right? So you want to start with a low dose and increase gradually, right? So if you are natural today and you want to start your cycle sometime very, very soon, get your blood work done today. Use anabolicinsight.ai to get your blood work done. And start with a low dose, okay? Stay on that dose for 4 to 8 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, somewhere in that range. Get a blood work panel done. See how everything looks. Make sure all your health markers are in check. Your liver, your kidneys, your cholesterol, your blood pressure, your red blood cell count, your estrogen, your testosterone numbers. Make sure everything is good. And then titrate up. Maybe go up 50 milligrams from there. Okay, cool. Now you're at, say, 150 milligrams, right? You stay there. Do your normal life. Take your normal supplements. All the over-the-counter supplements. Do everything healthy. Have a good diet. Everything normal. Everything the same. Wait another 6 to 8 weeks. Get blood work again. Test everything again. How does everything look? Everything looks pretty good. Cool. Let me go up to 200. And you can basically just keep scaling that all the way until you find a dose where that one step that you took showed, oh, okay, now this was a little messed up. My cholesterol was a little bit fucked up. My liver enzymes weren't great. And, I started to break out in gyno. All right, cool. Let me drop it back down to the one right before that. And that is the dose that you pick, you live at, and you can stay there for a very, very long time. For a very long time. You can stay there. You'll be healthy. You'll make as much gains as you possibly can while staying healthy. And you won't be damaging anything long term. And that is how you find your dose. It's constantly about test and assess. Okay? So that is really it. That's how you do it. Right? You start low. You titrate up. You get blood work done. You be responsible, you get your blood work done frequently when you're first starting, and you find the minimum effective dose for what you're looking for. And health should always be the focus. As soon as something breaks, as soon as you go up and you go, ah shit, my fucking cholesterol jumped 100 points. All right, cool. Time to back it off. You know what I'm saying? Don't mess around. Don't mess around. Just you know which one is good for you in terms of dosages. Stay there, okay? Once you found that dose, it's still crucial to get blood work regularly. I would recommend personally, if you're on cycle, if you're on PEDs, 2 times a year is bare minimum. The more the better. 2 times a year is minimum. I think 3 to 4 every quarter is a really nice sweet spot. But this just ensures that you everything's checking out, okay? Because obviously shit can be subject to change while you're on PEDs. So it's really important to get blood work done and to make sure that you're living your most healthiest, bestest life, making the most gains possible while staying healthy. That's the name of the game here. So get your blood work, get your blood work, get your blood work, get your blood work, get your blood work. Don't be cheap, don't be lazy, get your blood work. If you can't afford this lifestyle, don't go down this rabbit hole. We're going to get into that. Once you have mastered your testosterone dose, the next step can be to now add in a DHT. You can now add in a Primo or a Mastron. I would recommend one of those two, Primo or Mastron, purely because they are not oral steroids, right? Is Anavar liver toxic? Yes, but not too extreme. But why risk it, right? Why? Just go with the Primo. Just go with the Mastron. There's no reason to be on Anavar for 16 weeks, right? You can do it for a short period of time, but why stress the liver any extra than you need to? And you need to follow the same progression that you did for your testosterone. You start low, and you work your way up. Okay, same exact thing. Test and assess every single 6 to 8 weeks. Test and assess. Test and assess. Test and assess. A nice sweet spot with DHTs is a 1-to-1 ratio of DHT to test. It doesn't say it on here, but I personally do like a 2-to-1 ratio as well of DHT to test to really help keep you leaner throughout the year, to help with water retention, to help with bloating, and to keep estrogen down. Okay, I think controlling estrogen is important, obviously for staying lean. So 2-to-1 ratio is also pretty solid. Then the next step after you've added in the DHT would be to next add in a growth hormone. Okay, it can come from peptides. It can be just real growth hormone. It can be, IGF. Now growth. Okay. Obviously, another full module would be needed to fully explain growth hormone and what to expect and how to utilize it. But you want a replacement dose for your growth, okay? You don't want a crazy high dose. You want something in there that is really, really conservative, that's just going to keep you feeling good. And the point of the growth is to just have things ticking over in the background a little bit better. You're recovering a little bit quicker. Your joints feel a little bit better. Your hair, skin, and nail quality is a little bit better. You're sleeping a little bit deeper, right? And you're just slightly elevating the quality of your life from growth hormone. It's not going to be anything crazy. Like, don't expect to put on a ton of size from it and really blow up. That doesn't really happen until you get into the higher dosages of growth hormone. But having a nice little background kicker of growth is good for added performance and recovery and lifestyle factors. And then lastly, the fourth and final step is 19 Nors and harsher orals. Okay, so you're looking at your trends, your halo testings, your anadrols, your trend ace, not trend ace, your trend no ester, your test no ester, right? These harsher, really quick, really fast acting drugs are super, super effective for getting you results in a very short period of time, but higher risk or higher reward comes higher risk, right? So in order to properly utilize these and be as healthy as possible, you want to stay on them for as little amount of time as possible and for as low of a dose as possible, okay? Again, start low, titrate up, blood work, but if you're a strength athlete, okay, when you're going down this rabbit hole of 19 Nors and, orals and stuff like that, the good news is you would be surprised. So the only benefit that you're looking to get out of a really crazy steroid would just be the ramp in the central nervous system for performance. Okay, CNS goes up, weight on the bar goes up. But you don't need a lot of time for that to occur. Okay, like your training should do most of the work in terms of a peak, and then all you need is 3 to 5 days of orals, 7 to 10 days of something like a tren or something like that, and your central nervous system will go up from that alone. You don't need a lot of exposure to get benefits out of these drugs. If you're strictly a physique athlete, it may take you a little bit longer to see physique changes from these drugs. So that's something to consider, but the less that you can do them, the more healthy you'll be. And all of these steps here, the DHT, the growth, the 19 Nors, the trend, the halos. This is all optional, guys. You do not need to do any of this. You can stop here after you've mastered your testosterone dose, and that's it. Go about your life and live a good fucking life and be healthy as fuck and make pretty good gains, and that's it. But if you do want to take things to the next level, this is the progression to follow, okay? But this is not a necessary step, okay? You can stop after DHT. You can just be on test and DHT and be fine. You could just be on test and growth hormone and be fine, right? You do kind of need that test always, not always, but 9 times out of 10, you do need test. So I wouldn't just say just be on a DHT and growth or just be on a DHT alone. You do, most of the time, almost 99.99999% of the time, you need a test base, but you don't have to go down this rung. You can just pick one. If you have a comp coming up, right, and you're a powerlifter, you're a strongman, and you're just on test, you could just have test for most of your training, and then 2 weeks out, take an anadrol, every training day for 4 weeks in a row, for 3 weeks in a row, 2 weeks in a row, whatever the case may be, and get a boost from that, right? Like you don't have to go through all of these steps. You can kind of pick and choose, but these individual kind of compounds, these are the kind of protocols, if you will, to follow for each, right? If you decide to take one of these steps, right? If you do plan on getting all the way down the list, then I would say go in this order, personally. But like I said, you can mix. You could go test and GH. That's fine. That's totally fine too. So some just like general health markers to look at for being on PEDs, for being on TRT, some things that you should always be tracking. Blood pressure, it's a silent killer. Don't be cheap. Just buy a blood pressure cuff. Buy a good one. Leave it at your house. Learn how to test yourself with a BP cuff. It can be heavily influenced by nutrition and electrolyte balance, which again, another freaking module to really dive deep into that. But that's why it's super, super important to have all those other factors locked in first. So you're giving yourself the best chance to be as healthy as possible. So make sure your nutrition is good. Make sure your electrolyte balance is good. Stop with the freaking salt. Stop over salting your food. It's not doing anything for you other than causing you extra water retention and higher blood pressure. Unless you live in Texas and you sweat for 8 hours a day, you don't need that much salt. You need more potassium. But blood pressure is super, super important. Your blood sugar and your metabolic health, okay? Once you do kind of dive into the growth hormone peptides, even insulin too, which is a whole nother kind of subcategory. You need to look at your insulin markers and make sure that you're staying metabolically healthy. It's really, really common to get big, even if you're not fat, but to just get big and to, become a little bit pre-diabetic and stuff like that, which is not the route you want to go down. So again, make sure your diet is good. Make sure that your food selection is good. You're eating nutritious foods. You're eating fibrous foods. So track your blood sugar. Okay, you can go to CVS. You can go to Walgreens. You can get a little blood sugar prick thing. It's really cheap. Just prick your blood sugar every so often. Pre-workout, intra-workout, post-workout. Fasted in the morning, so you have different numbers for data. Make sure all those kind of markers are good. You can also buy the, I don't know what it's called, like the 24/7 glucose monitor. Those are great as well, to just really be able to see like where you're at throughout all different kind of, factors of the day. But make sure you track your blood sugar. Cardiovascular metrics, your resting heart rate and your HRV are super, 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 super important as well. Don't be a lazy bitch. Do your cardio. Get good sleep. Recover good. Make your heart is the most important thing. Make sure your blood pressure is good. Make sure your resting heart rate's not 100. You know what I mean? Keep it relatively healthy. You want to be tracking your HRV, making sure that you're constantly pushing the boundaries to make sure HRV goes up. I wear a Whoop. I think a Whoop is a really good tool if you do decide to go down this lifestyle, this rabbit hole, because this is constant data all the time. You're going to see what's affecting your sleep. You're going to see what kind of different compounds are affecting your heart rate, what kind of compounds are tanking your HRV, your blood oxygen levels. So this is a really good device to track the data. Is it money? Yes. Is all of this stuff cost money? Yes. Which is why you can't be cheap if you're living this lifestyle, because you're messing around with your health, and it's really important to make sure that you don't die, right? So, yeah, make sure you're tracking your HRV and your resting heart rate. Blood panels and organs, right? So make sure you're getting your blood work done regularly. Check on your livers, your kidneys, your red blood cell count, your cholesterol, and just make sure your organs are good. And this is not on here, but this is just something that I thought about just recently. Something that you can do, like maybe every 5 years, is actually get a full organ scan. Okay, it's really, really, really valuable data, to be honest with you. Just go in, get a full scan of your organs. It's going to be expensive, but pay for it, get it done, and make sure you're good. Because blood work is a good kind of first gauge to make sure that everything's okay. But getting that organ scan can take things to the next level and really, really, really break down and show you what you need to look out for, and what you kind of need to start to, be worried about, if you will, right? So that could be done like every 5 years. Yeah, so this is kind of like the stuff that not many people really want to think about, but it's super, super important, right? Like, over-the-counter subs make a huge difference, to be honest with you. Like, you don't want to be aimlessly buying over-the-counter supplements, right? Which is why you kind of want to get that data, get that blood work, understand, like, what is wrong, and then buy the necessary supplements to help boost those things, along with a good diet, right? But they can fill in the gaps in terms of, like, health deficiencies. Like, they make a big difference, um I'm a little bit more of a preventative type of person rather than a reactive type of person. So most of the time I like to just be on a cholesterol over the counter supplement, a liver over the counter supplement, glutathione, which is another like liver immune system injectable supplement, a kidney supplement, and then another like kind of anti-inflammatory vitamin E. And obviously, you have your regular vitamins, which are super, super important for health as well. Your vitamin D3, your magnesium, your iron, calcium, but you get calcium pretty easily through diet. So you just want to make sure you're hitting every marker pretty much when it comes to your hormones, your electrolytes, your organs, everything like that, right? So eat a nutrient dense diet, whole food diet. That can come very soon on kind of how to dial that stuff in, but yeah. Health requires a financial investment, right? So don't be cheap. This is not a cheap lifestyle. If you're going to be cheap, you're going to fuck yourself up. Leave now. It's my personal warning to you. If you're thinking you're going to get into this and not spend that much money or save money, go. Leave. Because this shit's expensive. Like, it just is. It's not necessarily like, oh, buying a vial of tests is expensive, but it's more so all the investments that you need to make sure that you are healthy. Like we talked about. Start bare bone basic. You got a vial and needles, right? If you're respectable, a Sharps container. All the over-the-counter supplements, the 2 to 3 times per year you need to get your blood work done. The money to afford a good diet. Obviously, a gym membership. If you're in this lifestyle, you probably pay for a coach because you want to optimize your training. You probably pay for a nutritionist too because you want to optimize your nutrition. Right, so that's like 9 things right there just to ensure that you're healthy. And that's just bare bones basics, to be honest with you guys. There's so many other different ways you can kind of deep dive into this, but don't cut corners, seriously. Like, don't try to save money. If you try to save money in this life, you'll pay for it later on. Sustainability wins, right? When it comes to finding a healthy TRT dose, you want to find a dose where you can maintain it long term without side effects. Bottom line, we covered that. Start low, titrate up, test and assess. That's the best way to do it. I am not a blast and cruise kind of guy. I am not a cycle on, cycle off kind of guy. I believe the healthiest thing that you can do is just maintain a consistent hormone panel, through a large majority of this. You can have short times for, certain purposes of the year where you want to push things a little bit more, you want to kind of come down a little bit more. But I don't necessarily believe that coming off, unless there's a real reason to do so, that it's the healthier thing to rather than just stay on for an extended period of time. Which is why I believe if you can just kind of keep this straight line trajectory of you're on your dose, you're on your good healthy dose, everything's good, you're training, you're making gains, your health is good, there's no reason to really change that, to be honest with you, right? But like we said, there can be temporary times in the year where you do, strategically increase your dose for specific goals or performance or competition benefit. But yeah, personally, I'm not a cycle on, cycle off kind of guy. I think that once you do this, it should be more of a long-term thing. More to come, right? So, like we said, there's a lot of different kind of routes and subcategories to kind of really, really deep dive into. You have your fertility, you have your DHTs, you have your growth hormones, you have your 19 NORs. These are all different things that you can kind of just continue to deep dive. Like, what over-the-counter supplements are good for you to take? How do you actually get a good diet? Like, what does that even really mean, right? Like, there's obviously a lot of subcategories to come, right? So that is kind of like what I plan to do with this school, is to cover everything I know. Give you guys as much freaking information as possible. I really like doing these modules. I think they're really cool. I think it's really good for me to kind of get all my thoughts out too. It feels really nice. And like, that is what I plan to offer you guys here, is just like full transparency, full understanding of different fields when it comes to nutrition, supplements, PEDs, training, how to get strong, how to get jacked, how to be healthy, how to sustain, this lifestyle, right? Because there's a lot involved into it, and I kind of hope to be that, educational beacon, if you will. So expect all these things to come in due time. But your feedback is valued. Your feedback is welcome. So drop some comments too down below. Let me know what you thought about this. Let me know if you liked it. Let me know if you thought I rambled too much. Let me know what other topics you'd like to see covered next, because I love making these, and I could for shit sure talk about them forever. So stay engaged down low. Like, let's build this community up. I want you guys to all interact with each other, become friends, share your knowledge, post your lifts, post your wins, post your, ask your nutrition questions. We're going to be doing like live Q&As too. Maybe every like Wednesday night or Thursday night or Friday, something like that. I want to give you guys like a good hour during the week to just kind of ask me shit live. So yeah, man, I'm really excited for the launch of this school. I think it's going to be awesome. I think that there's a lot of good things to come from here, and I'm excited to be doing more. I'm excited to continue working with you guys, and thanks for being here. And as always, let's keep making those freaking gains, baby.